All right, hello students. This is your teacher Jessica Todd, and welcome to our first flipped classroom. Today we're going to be talking about adjective clauses as they are used as objects in the sentence. Okay, so first a quick review. We know that a clause is a subject and a verb. It needs to have a subject and a verb. And an adjective, we know, describes a noun. So we can say big or tall or pretty, but we can't have an adjective by itself. It needs to describe something. So we can say a big dog. We can say a tall basketball player, or we can say a pretty girl, right? Adjective clauses also act as adjectives because they describe a noun. So the boy who is crying tells us which boy it is, right? In other words, it describes or gives more information about the boy, okay? Let's do a quick review. Part 1, in 1 minute, please look at these two sentences here and please label the subject, verb, and circle the object in each of these two sentences. I'll give you 1 minute, go. Okay, so if you said we and they are the subjects, you're doing great. If you said that bought is a verb and took is also a verb, good job. And a dog and a test are the objects of the sentence because they receive the action, right? So great. Now we've identified subject, verb, and object in these sentences. We're going to need this for what we learn next. Okay. Part 2 is a quick review from last Thursday. Thursday we looked at adjective clause pronouns that are used as the subject of the clause. So we talked about 3 pronouns, that, who, and which, right? We know for people we can use who or that, and we know for things we can use that or which, right, as subjects. So we have 2 simple sentences here. I met the doctor. The doctor saved my brother's life. Now, as our friend Anna would say, these sentences are too simple and not colorful, right? So we're going to use an adjective clause to combine them, make them more interesting. I met the doctor who saved my brother's life. So we notice in these 2 sentences, we have a noun that is repeated. That noun is the doctor and the doctor, right? If we look in the second sentence, we can see that the doctor is the subject of this sentence. This is important because it tells us that the relative pronoun will also be the subject of the adjective clause. See that? So if we have a subject relative pronoun, the word after the relative pronoun is going to be a verb, right? So in that way we have a subject and we have a verb in the relative clause or the adjective clause. Very good. Okay, so really quickly let's take 1 more minute and please try it down here. First, identify the adjective clause and tell what is the subject of the adjective clause and then what is the verb of the adjective clause. Let's do 2 sentences. 1, 2, go. Okay, so the first adjective clause is that celebrates the yearly harvest, and the second one is who is teaching history. Okay, the subject is that, right? And the subject here is who. Okay, the verbs are celebrates, and here the verb is teaching. Okay, this one is 2 verbs because it's present continuous. Okay, very good. So this is a review from Thursday. We learned that relative pronouns begin an adjective clause, and they sometimes act as the subject of that clause, and it's followed by a verb, right? Today, we're going to look at something new, which is adjective clause pronouns when they are used as the object of the verb. Okay, so let's look down at this sentence. The man was Mr. Jones. I saw him. Okay, notice here the repeated noun, Mr. Jones, and him, right? Him means Mr. Jones. I saw Mr. Jones, right? But here, if we look at sentence number 2, we can see that the repeated noun is the object of this sentence, not the subject, right? This is important because if the repeated noun is the object of the sentence, then our relative pronoun will also have to be the object of the adjective clause, okay? So this is our adjective clause here. Whom, who, or that I saw was Mr. Jones. I'm sorry. Whom, who, that, or nothing I saw. Okay, Mr. Jones is actually part of the first sentence, so let's put that back in black. Okay, good. So if the pronoun is an object, we have some choices for a relative pronoun. We can use whom, we can use who, we can use that, or we can use nothing. If it's a person, okay? So many students ask about what's the difference between whom and who, okay? We have down here, whom is extremely formal, okay? Extremely formal. We only use it really in writing. Almost always it's used in writing, okay? Because writing is more academic and more formal. But when we're speaking, unless we're speaking to a president or someone who we really respect, it's going to sound a little strange to use whom in speaking, okay? So if we're speaking, we're going to use who, okay? And or that or nothing, okay, for a person. But if we're writing, we can use whom, okay? So, and this is for a person because we're talking about the man, right, or Mr. Jones, okay? If we have a thing, we have different choices for relative pronouns. We can use which, that, or we can use nothing, okay? Really important point about our relative pronouns that are used as the object is what comes after the relative pronoun, okay? If we look down here in blue, it says when the relative pronoun is an object, it must be followed by a subject and a verb, okay? Here's our relative pronoun. The next word, I, is the subject. And after that, we have a verb, okay? Very important that you follow an object relative pronoun with a subject and verb, okay? All right, so we're going to practice it a little bit, okay? We have some simple sentences that need to be combined. First, we're going to identify the repeated noun in the two sentences. Then we're going to ask ourselves, is the noun the subject or the object of the second sentence? If it's the object, we have to make sure that the object pronoun is followed by a subject and a verb. So let's check it out. The movie was terrible. We saw it last night. Now, in these sentences, what is the repeated noun? Can't be saw because saw is a verb. Can't be we because there's no we in the first sentence, okay? It must be it, okay? And it refers to the movie, right? We saw the movie last night. Okay, good. So now that we've identified it, we have to do number 2. Is the noun the subject or the object of the second sentence? We saw it last night. It's definitely not the subject. Must be the object, right? We saw it. We saw the movie. Okay, if it's the object, make sure that the object pronoun is followed by subject and verb when you make the sentences. All right, I'll remember that. So we're going to start off with the first sentence. The movie, okay? And because the movie is our repeated noun, I know that my adjective clause is going to go next to the repeated noun. And then I'm going to finish the sentence here. Was terrible, was terrible. All right, time for the adjective clause, right? And let's see. The movie is a person or a thing. It's a thing, right? So if I go back up here for things and it's the object, I can use which, that, or nothing. Let's see. The movie, which, da 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 da. The movie that, or the movie nothing was terrible. Okay, I'm going to put those in parentheses because I know I can use one of those three, but I'm not going to use all of those three. Okay? Now, the rest of the sentence is sentence 2. Let's see. We saw it last night. Okay, so what do you guys think of this sentence? The movie, which we saw it last night, was terrible. Something strange with it, right? Here in this sentence, because we've added the relative pronoun, what happens to it? That's right, it's erased. Okay, we don't need to repeat it because we have the movie and a relative pronoun which also talks about the movie. Okay. Last thing, I don't want to forget about number 3. If it's the object, make sure that the object pronoun is followed by subject and verb. So this is my object pronoun. We is the subject. Okay, good. And saw is the verb. Perfect. Okay. So now I've made a sentence using a relative pronoun as the object, and I've made sure to follow it by a subject and a verb. Beautiful. All right. So I would like you guys to try the other exercises. Okay. We have B, C, D, and on the second page, E. Okay. And then I'd also like you to do this homework down here. Okay. This is homework in Azar, page 273. Okay. Exercise 7 and 8. I'd like you to write down your answers for the Azar homework and the homework from this worksheet here. And I'll put it onto Blackboard as well so you can have a copy. But I'd like you to write down the answers and bring it to class on Tuesday with you. Okay, I'm going to check the answers and give you credit, homework credit for it. Okay, so please don't forget. All right, students, thank you for listening. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Bye.